frozen! Oh good, I'm glad I caught you.
Deus Ex Mankind Divided is the newest expansion for Deus Ex Human Revolution. You may be saying to yourself, no, it's a standalone game made with its own engine. Okay, it's still an expansion. Frankly, what we have here is more of an expansion, more of the same than we got with Bioshock 2, because at least Bioshock 2 changed the gameplay a lot by allowing you to use weapons and plasmids at the same time, and you were a big daddy, Vampire Delta. But what does Deus Ex Mankind Divided actually bring to the table? Well, it brings a new engine. The Dawn engine, it's beautiful, some of the locations are superb, the characters are so much more detailed than they were in Human Revolution. And the cutscenes, they actually have them now, and they don't look like crap. They look a lot more like those CGI things that Square Enix did for the cinematic trailer and not for the cinematics of the game. And for some reason, again, this game has no reflections. Now, I'm not entirely sure why, because the Dawn engine is based a bit around the old, well, not old, it's quite new. It's the Glacier engine made by IO Interactive. And that engine has reflections. This one doesn't. You still can't see Jensen's mug whenever you look into a mirror. It's like he's a vampire himself and not just, well, RoboCop. The filter that the previous game had is gone for most of the time. It comes back near the end. And to be honest, it's not that I miss it, but it did give Human Revolution a sort of identity. And here, especially in the level called Prague, which is your hub area, its presence would have been helpful because it sort of looks like City 17 from Half-Life 2. It looks a lot like City 17 from Half-Life. It looks amazingly like City 17, with flying drones and checkpoints and people that are dressed in armor just guarding every place. Only these are cops and not Metro. Okay, those are cops too. So yeah, it's City 17, stylistically, because it's set in Eastern Europe. It's in Prague, you know, Czechoslovakia. Oh, sorry, the Czech Republic. Czechoslovakia was a while ago. As a word of warning, if you plan on playing this on a very low spec build, you will have performance issues. You're gonna need a beefy-ish video card, beefier than GTX 750. I could not even get 30 frames a second constant for most of my playtime. In terms of sound, the music is okay. It's not as evocative of Deus Ex, of what Human Revolution set out to do, as the Icarus song was in the trailer of the first one, and the voices are for the most part very competently made, with various accents that sound like they're from around here. And Elias again does a fine job of playing Adam Jensen, though I don't believe he says he never asked for this in this game. Now on to the bits that make this game kind of an expansion. I was absolutely okay with Deus Ex Human Revolution. I thought it was an okay game. As a Deus Ex game, as a Deus Ex game, it was very okay. It was good at what it did. It wasn't fantastic, but it was good. It had the core of something that could evolve into a very interesting game. Mankind Divided isn't that game, because, you know, when you have a core, that core has to sprout, and grow branches and leaves and become a tree. So the core is sort of like a seed, and you have to water it, you have to feed it minerals. This is just the seed again. Mankind Divided doesn't really do much with the gameplay, or with the content for that matter. The mechanics are identical. The same shortcomings that Human Revolution had, this one has as well. Though actually I believe the AI here tends to be a bit, how shall I put this? The AI, when they hear a noise, they will go and check out where the noise came from. Like if you open a door that you weren't supposed to open and you walk out of it, the AI will look at the door, at the person walking out of the room that was supposed to be guarded, and then they go to check what made the noise inside the room. Now this happens if you're at the border between a secure area and one that's okay to be in. And there's kind of a lot of them. Like at one point there's a curfew and you're not supposed to be out on the streets, but if you just stand in the the doors of shops, like not even opening the doors of the shops, just stand in them, the cops are okay with you. Like they're looking at you, oh, so you're standing in that door. Yeah, you sure look like an augmented fellow with more gadgets on you than would probably be legal, but you're standing in the door and so I won't shoot you. What I'm getting at is that the AI needs some work, but they are very capable at spotting you if you're not hidden, if you're not in cover, if you're not invisible. And they tend to have sharper hearing when it comes to steps. Not necessarily when people are hit over the face a few meters away from them, but they will listen to steps. Now, content-wise, and I mean content that involves the gameplay, your abilities, they've added a few of them. You don't get access to them from the get-go. They are unlocked at first by you having to actually overclock Jensen, and by doing so you have to disable one of your older abilities from Human Revolution to get the new abilities, until you get a certain chip that lets you just have them all, depending on how many praxis points you have. Those abilities include things like remote hacking, which will let you manipulate certain elements of the scenery, like the blinds of windows, or certain things that come out of the floor, behind which you can hide. You can even disable temporarily cameras and actually drones, robots that guard places. That is the only actually useful ability they added. The rest of them are completely pointless. You have a taser that has a lock-on time. You have to get out of cover, lock as many people as you can, well, up to 4 people on the screen, and fire before they can see you, because if they see you, they will probably throw up an alarm and shoot you, and then you're not much of a stealthy character. But that thing will take out, if you're in the correct range, all 4 of them at the same time. I used this ability once, and I mean, well, no, I used it twice, but the second time was more like a, oh, why the hell not, let's see if it does something, and it didn't. It was completely useless. I used it once at the end of the game, because at that point I was just in a rush to finish it. It's for the most part useless. The one where you throw blades out of your hands, again, there's no point to it. I have a gun. The nanoblade will kill people. You can set it actually to explode if you want to. I have a gun that does that. I have a tranquilizer rifle that can do that as well and not kill anyone. And the rest of them, I can't actually remember what they were. There was one that let you have some sort of armor, which was supposed to be a really rare thing, until you actually see someone that's basically not a high-end cyborg with the same armor, and you start thinking to yourself, wait a minute, why do you have it? The point is, I didn't actually use it because I didn't play in such a way that getting shot was something that happened to me often. I didn't even invest in the dermal implants that give you passive armor, even though near the end of the game I was just running past enemies, because the end of the game is a bit time sensitive. Basic idea is that the new abilities, they're not that useful. They don't give you new ways in which to play. They just sort of, but not really, replace guns, which already have ammo you can find everywhere and are a lot more practical to use. They're pointless, and there's not even a lot of them. There's not an entire new tree that you have to invest in. No, there's, for the most part, the same old one you had in Human Revolution and a handful of new abilities. That's it. This is why I call it an expansion, because in terms of, well, everything, it doesn't bring anything new. On the bright side, they didn't go the Deus Ex Invisible War route where they just redid everything in a dumber way. They just did the same thing again, added a few new bells and whistles, and that's it. It's Human Revolution with a pretty pink bow on it. And if you like Human Revolution, yeah, you'll... I'll get to that. The thing I can't fault the game for at all is level design. Again, these people made superb levels. I love the levels. They are incredibly well made. They are stratified in such a way that even the hub level has layers to it. This is a design akin to something that Piranha Bytes would do at their peak. Then it gives you options. It gives you options for whatever abilities you have. Can you lift heavy things? You know, you can lift this giant refrigerator that's blocking a door. You can't? No problem. There's an air shaft up there. Can you jump high enough to reach it? No, you can't? Okay then. can you hack this door to open a route to get in the other way? Okay, you can't do that either. Do you have thermal implants and a lot of ammo and some grenades? Okay, charge the front door, kill everyone, or just, I don't know, be invisible and sneak past them. You have so many abilities. Again, the same ones that were in Human Revolution that are taken into account in the level design, in how it works, in how it's connected. You will never be at an impasse. You'll always have options and possibilities. You can be very creative in how you traverse the level. And some of them are like gigantic puzzles that you have to work at to find ways in which to achieve your goal. You can do it again by hacking, by using your powers, or by finding things, finding keys, finding passwords, finding details about characters that you can then use to pretend to be them in a text chat and give orders to other people. This is where the game shines. This is where it is Deus Ex to its best. The level design is great. Now, if only the rest of the game achieved that same level of perfection. Some of the missions do. Some of the missions do get close to that level, and I'm very happy to say that you will enjoy some of them. Like, there was one where you have to unlock your new abilities. To be able to use them non-stop without overclocking your system, you have to retrieve a certain device from some mobsters. You can do this in several ways. You can go to them and fight them. You can go to them and promise them a favor, which may not be something a person working for Interpol should do, though that favor will allow you to do something else in a main mission later on. I'll get back to this in a few moments. Or you could do what I did, sneak in, steal the thing, and just never talk to that character, never do that side mission, never work for the mob. It was amazing. I just sidestepped the whole issue, the whole morality issue of, should I dirty my hands and work with these people to achieve a goal that may one day save hundreds, millions, thousands? No, I'm just gonna steal that thing because I can. I'm Adam Jensen. How are they gonna stop? They can see me. I'm like John Cena Jensen. And again, some of those side missions, because this was a side mission, will have an impact on your main mission. Because those characters you talk to, what you did, will sometimes, not every time, will sometimes have an impact on a main mission. For example, there was one mission where I had to actually secure access to the region where the mob was. Had I done the mission with the favor, I would have gotten access to that area because the mob boss, well, let me in. But I did another mission with something that's a bit spoilery, so I won't say. But when I got to the area, it was guarded by a lot of police because the police, you know, the game has a bit of a social message about prejudice. It's the same message like the last time, now it's amplified to City 17 levels. It actually kind of makes you wonder, why are there so many augmented people? Haven't most of them died because of not being able to afford neuropozyne? And why do they live in slums? I mean, they're augmented, they have exceptional abilities compared to normal people. Can't they just build something better? I'll get to the story soon, but back to the side mission thing. I was doing a pacifist run. I had never killed anyone in this game. They even gave me an achievement at the end for not killing anyone. And me, a merciful Jensen, sneaking behind cops, I get a message from an ally saying, "Hey, I'm gonna cause a distraction and you sneak in, okay? Okay." She causes an explosion that kills about 3 cops. Kills them. Murders them. What the hell? What the freak? How could I be a pacifist? Really, I just caused the deaths of some people that were, well, the cops are assholes, and most of the cops are assholes in this game, so probably they deserve it, but still, that's kind of not what you should do to someone that's trying to play as a pacifist. That's something you should do to someone playing as Rambo. Still, it's a nice feature, it's a nice thing, because when you go into certain shops, when you talk to certain people, they will remember. If you're late for a meeting, they will acknowledge that you went someplace else to do something else or to explore. The game actually has a tendency to always rush you. I haven't seen any missions that actually have this same effect like the first one from Deus Ex Human Revolution, where if you were actually late, the hostages would die, but constantly people will tell you, "Why aren't you here, Johnson? Be at the office in 1 second." And when you get there, surprise, they're actually busy and don't have time to talk to you, so you rush here for no reason. It's a bit annoying because it does that constantly. It's like it's trying to actually rush you through it, to not give you time to explore, to see the sights, to do side quests, to check out some points of interest that lead to other quests. And it's annoying, but not as annoying as the part we're getting to now. The missions are very badly scripted. And I don't mean that sometimes you will encounter characters that say that you killed a character in a mission even though you chose to save that character. That's just a bug. They're badly scripted in the way that, let's say you go into the office of a political figure, you crack their safe, and you don't find anything in the safe. But then you talk to the political figure outside the building, he tells you, "Oh, I'm sure innocent, yup, sure am." When you go back into the building and look in the safe that you just cracked open and left open for everyone to see, you're gonna find incriminating evidence along with a message to the henchman that says, "Hey, henchman, I am gonna put this here, you keep the key, yeah, keep it safe, don't let anyone take it." And the henchman has been out cold for 15 minutes in the basement. They could have just left that evidence there as a quest item, which I would have known what to do with when I got the quest. That's how people do it in normal RPGs. They don't in this game. And it just breaks all sense of immersion, all sense of the reality of the game. Why would you put that evidence? How did you even put I was looking at you a second ago, you didn't walk back into the office. It just magically teleported there. That's the kind of thing that smashes to pieces any sort of sense that this is a world with characters that actually do things and not just something extremely fake that you have no reason to care about. Speaking of which, then there is the story. Deus Ex Human Revolution was a complete story. You had Adam Jensen's story from man to cyborg to victim to savior, from laboratory baby built to not reject augmentations to, well actually that never panned out in the end, did it? Megan's still around, she's working with some tech company in San Francisco, so maybe it will be in the next game, I'm guessing. Still, this game, Mankind Divided, isn't a full story. You started about 2 years after the original, and you're not necessarily thrown into the middle of a story, you were thrown into the filler chapter of a story. You know filler, right? Every show has it, every book has it. It's one of those chapters, like everything that happened with Wedge and Tilly's in the second series of Tron books, Hand of Tron. Man, those books could have been just one and a lot better. In Mankind Divided, you're thrown into that filler chapter. Nothing you do actually has any meaning. It's not interesting. No one cares. And frankly, there's a better story before it and after it. Stories you get small glimpses of and you'll never actually enjoy in this game because they're not here. They may be in an expansion, which will probably turn out to be another separate game because currently they're launching story DLC, which the one that's included with the game sort of looks like it was supposed to be in the game, and the one with Pritchard is well, I'll get back to it later. The story is probably one of the most unsatisfying ones I've ever played. It's even worse than Mass Effect 2's story. Like, that one at least introduced interesting new characters, set up some concepts that were dumped from the series, and the fact that Shepard was a cyborg now. And Mankind Divided doesn't do even that. It just doesn't. It's an utterly predictable story with no turns, no twists. It's a day in the life of Adam Jensen. A boring day. Sure, things happen, there's terrorism and bombing, but that's everyday life in that city, in that world, in that period. There is just nothing compelling to it, and it's not presented in a way that's actually made to be compelling. And he doesn't care either. He's more concerned with finding a way to stop the Illuminati. But he can't do that because he has to stop the terrorists that are trying to blow up something, rather because, you know, there's a vote that's about to come up with Human Restoration Acts and people building all sorts of refuges for augmented people, and it's uninteresting, it's unsatisfying, and especially the end, because the end just drives it home how little they did not care about the story of this game. The end is a cliffhanger, one of those Game of Thrones end of season, oh my god, he's actually alive, cliffhangers. That reveals a much more interesting story. One that could actually be good, could actually be something they should have put in the game. At least if the story set up some good characters, but it doesn't. It takes out all the characters you met in the previous game. Pritchard isn't in this. You have to pay $11 for DLC that adds him for some missions. Malik isn't in this, though she is implied to still be alive because she sends you a message. She's probably gonna be in a new DLC. Megan isn't in this. Johnson's dog died, so no, he's not in this either. Seraph makes a cameo or two. You talk to him a few times and that's it. And the characters they do add, you have a new pilot whose defining characteristic is he doesn't want to get augmented even though he has a hurt leg. There's another pilot who is your contact with the Janus Initiative or the Janus Group or something, which are hunting for the Illuminati. She's as bland as a stick. There's the people that are working with you at Interpol. Two of them are interesting. One you would expect to actually do something, but you just talk to her a few times and she stays there. She tells you about her life and how she's ready to get back in the field, and the game ends when she's about to go back in the field. And there's a doctor that helps you deal with certain issues and gives you some quests, and later there's stuff with her. And that's it. The characters are just not that interesting. They just wiped the board and gave you new teammates, new characters, but they're not interesting and they're not as well fleshed out as the other ones. And then we get to the main character himself, Adam Jensen. I'm starting to believe that the people at Eidos Montreal don't want to make Deus Ex, they want to make Metal Gear, because Adam Jensen is kind of an idiot in this game. And let's face it, Snake was also kind of an idiot. I mean, everything he said was just, Metal Gear? Metal Gear? Could it be Metal Gear? It's either the joke too as well. Adam Jensen in this game is a bit thick. He's a bit of a dumbass. Like, you can show him the most, and I mean the most obvious thing possible, and he will not get it. He will not understand it at all. You can show him a room with a security guard that's acting a bit suspicious, and in that room, like right on the wall behind the guard, the wall that Adam Jensen with his X-ray goddamn vision can see perfectly, there are bullet holes and a big splatter of blood, very poorly covered by a chair. And he doesn't think, maybe there's something up. Maybe I should punch him through this glass because I can punch the walls and then kill the guy behind me and, be done with it. I'm Adam Jensen, I can do that. I'm super duper enhanced. I think they did something to his brain because he just cannot make the most rational leaps of thought. And the game doesn't give me those options because he can't. It's annoying. It's very annoying. So for the most part, the characters are meh, a very big meh. Much like the theme of the game itself. Again, segregation between augmented and non-augmented, and like, why? Didn't we do something very similar in the last game? Where did all that transhumanism go? It's really not that much in there's some bits about the Illuminati, but not much. Because again, the story is mostly filler. And thematically, it's like the series is a one-trick pony now. Speaking of which, this game only has one hub area, so you're gonna be in Prague for most of the time. There's no Hengsha this time, there's no Montreal wasn't a hub, you only went there once. There is no other locations than Prague, like ones where you get to explore. There's Golem City, which is the decrepit, falling apart, trash-filled place where all the augmented are basically crammed into, which you visit for about 5 minutes, and then you go on probably the longest mission of the game where you have to sneak in and interrogate someone. It was in the trailer, you probably know who it is. it's that guy. And you never go back to Golem City. It looked like an interesting location, one to which I would have liked to go back to and talk to the people and visit some more of it and see what they're up to, but you never do again. You go to a location and then you never go back again. You go back to Prague, which is the hub area. It's a fairly big hub, not big compared to something like Novigrad, but still it's a biggish hub. Actually, it's probably not even as big as Oxenford, but still it's actually too big, it seems, because they split it up. Prague is actually two locations, one where you start the game where Jensen's apartment is, and another one. Between them, there is a very long loading time, like 2 minutes loading time sometimes. And that's annoying as hell because the game has the habit of giving you missions that are spread between those two locations. And not missions like, okay, go here and now go there and finish it. No. It's go here, talk to this character, learn that you need one slight detail from the other place. So go there, talk to that character, then come back here, talk to him, continue the conversation. He tells you to go back there again, and then you have to go back again. It's madness. And it gets worse because near the end of the game, there's gonna be martial law, so you're not allowed in the streets. There will be cops everywhere, so you either have to go through the sewers or you have to sneak past the cops. And it's madness, annoyance, frustration to the maximum. To do this, to do a simple side quest where you have to go someplace else to talk to one character, then could go back and no, it's very badly put together. They should have been just one area. They probably did it because of memory limits. That's usually why they do stuff like this. And I get it, okay, memory limits, good. Don't separate the quests in this way. Don't make them so goddamn annoying to play. Near the end, it just gets incredibly frustrating to go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. It's because of this that at the end mission, like at the final one, I wasn't even in Prague then, I just said, fuck it, I'm gonna run everywhere. If anybody shoots at me, they'll not have time. Frankly, because I run really fast. Oh yeah, there's a new dash maneuver in the game. I forgot to mention it. It's the same one that Thief stole from Dishonored. I've only used it once to see what it does and then never used it again because it wasn't useful, like most of the new abilities. So, to sum it up until now, it looks good, it runs like crap, it sounds good, it's not really a standalone game, it's an expansion in all but name to Human Revolution, which can be okay if you like Human Revolution and how it did gameplay, because this does not improve upon it at all. It has fantastic level design, amazing level design, some really standout work in the level design that makes the game very enjoyable to play. The missions are sometimes very good, unless they make you run around to hub areas which are separated by a huge loading level. The story is completely interesting and it ends like, we have a saying, ends as if it were hatcheted. It's abrupt, it's not a story, it's filler. You're playing filler most of the time and you're waiting for the interesting thing to come up. You're being led with a carrot until the end and then they hit you with a stick. The characters are completely meh. The locations, you're not gonna see a lot of them because they're just one hub area. It sort of feels like the game's a bit rushed actually sometimes. And now we get to the part that's quite horrible. You see, Eidos Montreal tried to do an okay game. It's an okay game, it's not as okay as Human Revolution was, but it has parts that are quite good. And then Square Enix shoved microtransactions into it so hard that it made it almost meaningless. Like, it made parts of it meaningless. You can buy praxis points and you can buy money with real money, which is something that completely undermines the progression of the game and the economy of the game. So I thought to myself, well, why not play it like Square Enix intended, and then I cheated myself some praxis points and some money. Well, it turns out the game was actually still okay to play. Like, the levels themselves make the game very nice to play no matter what your progression status is, because there's always going to be a way to play it. Which brings up the question of why is the progression system there? there? Or actually, why are the new abilities there? Because they don't offer you new options. All the options that you have in this game to traverse the levels to complete the objectives are still the main ones. The ones from Human Revolution. The new ones, okay, probably, again, single exception would be remote hacking. It gives you a few more possibilities when dealing with cameras. The rest are just filler. They're just there to be there. To fill space, to tick a checkbox. Much like what this game is. It adds really nothing to Human Revolution that couldn't be done in a 10-hour expansion, like a good one that has the same great level design, but has a reason to not have more than one hub area, to not have any new abilities apart from ones that are just superfluous. And boss battles, there's 2 boss battles in the game. One is optional, and they're not actually boss battles. Like the old game, I haven't gotten to the point where I can actually fight the bosses in the director's cut. I only had time to play the beginning with the director's cut enabled, so I don't know exactly what the boss fights are like now. But here, I'm just gonna show you the last boss fight, like the only obligatory boss fight on the background, because it lasts about 2 minutes, and it all boils down to the game doesn't let enemies have superpowers. They're not gonna be immune to you stunning them and then punching them in the face so hard that you knock them out. And I like that. That's actually a good way to design a boss fight. You can just shock someone, and while they're screaming their heads off, you can execute them or knock them out. I like that. I like that a lot. And because it's just one enemy, like one boss fight, you would see this in an expansion. You would not see this in a standalone game that's currently up for sale at the price of 50 euros. Already has, oh yeah, a DLC pack that's 50. Oh my god. Okay, the DLC pack itself is 52 euros. The Rift one, that the System Rift DLC that's pressured, is 12 euros. That's a lot of money, and from what I've heard, it's not that much of a DLC, it's more of an advertisement for the Breach mode. What's the Breach mode, you ask? Well, it's the other reason why I believe that the people at Eidos, or the people at Square Enix probably, really want to make Metal Gear, because this is VR missions. This is literally Deus Ex VR missions, because it's all in VR, and it has the same basic gameplay as Deus Ex, only it's not as interesting, because the levels are quite small, and it's all based around sneaking or just getting to some computer node and downloading it, and then getting out of there before the alarms just close off the level. There are enemies, you know, in cyberspace. It's not a mode that has really that much of a place being in Deus Ex. It's superfluous. It's stacked on. It's stacked on single player, for God's sake. How did you manage it? You managed to tack on a single player mode. I've heard of tacked on multiplayer, but tacked on single player? Really? How? That's an achievement. My god, that's something you deserve an award for. So, what does it boil down to? Deus Ex Mankind didn't have the same push to it, the same drive to it that would just make you look at its trailers, at its previews, at anything from it and say, oh my god, Deus Ex coming back and it's gonna look amazing, it's gonna be great. No, this from the get-go had the feeling of, okay, it's Johnson again, could be good, it's looking, I don't see it wrong with it, it's gonna be 1.5, isn't it? It's gonna be Human Revolution 1.5. And I dare say it's not even that, it's Human Revolution 1.25, like it's 1.25. Because, again, levels are superb, the levels love them. There is a bank that you can spend hours breaking into just for the kick of it. There's a mission to it, optional mission later on, but you can just break into it because, hey, why not? It's fun. And it's a superb, well-designed level. Most of the levels are very well done, but it's not just about level design. For this game to be good on its own and not just a rehash of Human Revolution, it needed more. It needed at least a story that was interesting. It needed characters that were memorable. It needed to not have a breach mode that's just there, or microtransactions that just why, or abilities that, you know, give you extra options, not just replace a shotgun or a rifle, because that's all they do. They don't actually add that much to it, apart from remote hacking, which does offer new possibilities. So in the end, I'm giving Deus Ex Mankind Divided the rating of... Well, as you know, if you don't know, I don't give ratings based on numbers, letters, stars, or fruit. I used to have one that was based on fruit. I award the game with the title of The Manatee of Meh, which you can interpret in any way you want, because manatees are awesome, but this is the manatee of meh. It's something awesome that's not impressed. So interpret it all the way you want, put it on Metacritic. I'd love to see what Metacritic turns the manatee of meh into. It's probably gonna be a 7, it always is. And I'll see you probably next year, because I sure as hell won't be doing things like this very often with another review. Because reviews take a very long time to do properly. And no, this isn't a review done properly, this is a rant review type thing. A proper review would have been shorter, more to the point, and punchier. But again, I don't have time to do that sort of thing. Just blurting it all out in 40 minutes is actually the faster route. Here's hoping Deus Ex Manchurian Cyborg will be better, or whatever they decide to call it. Thank you for watching this show. If you enjoyed it, please consider watching some of our other videos and maybe sharing them or giving a thumbs up if you feel like it. And if you really liked what you saw, please check out our Patreon page. For just $1 a month, you could help us make much better shows and get some rewards in the process. Or you could consider buying my book called Tale of Doom. Volume 1 is out now and available for just $2. And as always, if you thought it was horrible, you know where to find me and complain about it.